Hey everybody, welcome back to our 5 Wells Habits. Today we're going to be engaging in habit number 3, to love as a family. Now, the earliest followers of Jesus built relationships together in a really deep way. In fact, they saw themselves as the family of God because what united them in their faith in Jesus and the power in His resurrection was so much deeper than any other connection that they could have. In Acts chapter 2, it said that they started devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, which basically meant that they started building deep relationships with each other, and to breaking of bread in their homes, meaning they started eating together, they started sharing time together, they started getting really deeply connected. They also started to share with each other and anybody who had need. They were just like, man, my stuff is your stuff. And so there was a deep bond that happened with these people, and their relationships just started forming in a way where they all became family, and it was powerful. Now, I think we need to be honest about where we are in our culture and in our day and age, because there's a number of factors right now in our culture that are working against us in building relationships with each other. And we're talking about increased mobility in our world, where we're constantly on the go. There's more money at our disposal, so we're spending more time on vacations and away from our home and our neighborhood. Even increased work commutes has led people to distance themselves from home and their workplace, so that they've got longer commutes every single day, which has led to a breakdown in the neighborhood because people are coming back home and they're tired. Entertainment, TV, and screens has also led people to kind of isolate from each other, because at the end of the day they're tired and they just want to veg out on their screens. Yes, the internet has given us more information now than ever. Yes, we have social media that connects us with people around the world. Globalization is certainly a factor, and so we could say that we're more connected than ever. And yet, the studies are showing right now that Americans are feeling more isolated and like they don't have many friendships, many real friendships, now more than ever. Why is that? Os Guinness has said this. He said, there is now a huge cost in the shift from involuntary community to voluntary groupings. And no amount of talk or virtual community can overlook the fact that communication that is person to person but not face to face amounts to a severe loss. The plain fact is that for most modern people, community is either a rare experience or a distant, even mocking ideal. What he's talking about here is the shift from involuntary relationships to voluntary. Man, you can choose with all the options in front of you, from work to hobbies to TV to meeting people online and gaming. You can choose the different people that you want to be with. And instead of the past where, man, we didn't have a choice on who we were around, we just had our neighborhood and we had our town and our small kind of center of life, and those were the people that we were going to build friends with, whether we liked it or not. Now we've chosen to voluntary. The crazy challenge about this is that, man, when your voluntary friends aren't meeting some of the needs that you want them to, you're off to the next set of group of friends. You're off to the next set of friends who are going to meet what you want in that moment. And so instead of involuntary and saying, yeah, I commit to these people whether I like them or not, now it's I'm in as long as it meets my needs. So I want you to do this. I want you to meet with your group, and I want you to ask each other a couple of questions. Ask each other, do you feel like our culture right now is setting each other up for deep friendships or not? And then if not, what do you see as some of the barriers for people developing real relationships with each other? And what might be some solutions for us to be able to help each other build some real friendships moving forward? So take a few minutes, talk with your group about this. Now, I once heard a pastor say that never before has he seen a younger generation, the millennials and younger, who's been more desirous of community and yet more unwilling to pay the price for it. Now, the wild thing is that when Christians truly embrace community in Jesus, lives change. The wild thing is that when the early church gathered together, it was not that they were perfect. It was not that they had all of their life together. It was not that they were just amazing people. I mean, They were a variety of people ranging from fishermen to tax collectors, which were the kind of the hated people, to prostitutes. I mean, you're talking about a whole bunch of people that had a whole lot of history and junk in their past. And yet when they came together, and when they started forming these friendship bonds that were more reminiscent of family than friends, lives started changing, and the movement of Jesus exploded through these relationships and the community that they formed together. And so we find that when people embrace the community of Jesus, there is incredible transformation that happens. And yet, we have to be honest about the cost. What does it cost to really embrace this community? And a lot of people, when they look at Christianity, when they look at the church, when they look at Christians, they think, man, I love your Jesus, and yet I really struggle with your Christians. I mean, a lot of Christians are known for being hypocritical, judgmental, kind of negative people, known more for what they're against than what they're for. People that pretend that they have it all together and yet on the inside are just as messed up as anybody else, just unwilling to admit it. And so a lot of people are saying, well, why would I want to be a part of that? Gandhi once said, I love your Jesus, I just don't like your Christians. G.K. Chesterton once put it this way: the Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting, it has been found difficult and left untried. In order to really embrace that community, we've got to embrace the cost, and the cost is really this action word known as love. C.S. Lewis talked about love this way. He says, to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable. And so here's what I want to do. I want to wrestle with, what did the early church do to embrace love and the difficulty, the cost of love, and to be able to form the kind of friendships and bond that they had together that would actually change the world that we know. I want you to take one of the tools that we explored in week 1 of examining the Word of God, understanding it, letting it be a window into our life, and I want you to look at Romans chapter 12, verse 9 through 20. And I want you to jot down the thoughts that you see as Paul is describing what it takes, the cost of real community in the family of Jesus. Well, that's it for session 3, Love is Family. I hope you've enjoyed this and had some really good conversations with your group. Next time, we're going to look at what does it mean to live sent. There are people that God has placed in your weekly rhythms that are close to you, but who are far from God. And what we want to do is we want to help you live like Jesus, because Jesus said, I have come to seek and to save the lost. And we want to help you know what it means to take that next step in developing a relationship with them the way that Jesus developed a relationship with us when we were far from God. Until then, I really hope that you had a great time in session 3, and I hope that you take advantage of some of the further reading this week as you explore more of what it means to live as a family and embrace conflict, embrace the cost, so that we can embrace the joy and the transformation that Jesus wants to do in us. Until then, we'll see you next time.